Hello, fellow fans. I'm Mark. United with me is my co-host, the practically perfect in every way, Brian. What up, Brian?
Just a spoonful of sugar.
Welcome, everyone, to UWF on the Chip and Company Podcast Network. On the last episode, Brian and I united to discuss this year's D23 event and the announcements, as well as the future of Disney entertainment and its slate. On this week's episode, Brian and I unite to rank the 20 highest grossing films of all time. Now get out your lightsabers, your Avenger A's, and your Knuff hoodies as UWF starts now.
All right, let's do this one last time.
Truth is, I am Iron Man.
Football is life.
I solemnly swear that I am up to no good.
X never, ever marks the spot.
Is Star Wars the one with the little wizard boy?
This is the way.
Avengers!
Assemble.
Ah, chills. Literal chills.
Hello, fellow fans. Thank you all for uniting with us as we talk about all things fandom. Please give us a rate or review wherever you listen so we can unite with more fans out there on the Chip and Company Podcast Network. Follow us on UWF, Facebook, Instagram, and X Twitter to have more fun with us. Brian, I only have one thing for our world news, and then we've got a very exciting Disney corner. I recently saw a Murder in Venice, and I'm going to give it 2 mark thumbs up. It is a wonderful horror, old school mystery thriller. The cast is superb. After the Death on the Nile was the last one in the series, and that one was kind of a bloated sequel with too much going on, too much visual effects. And this one, they really scaled it down. I think it added a lot to it. So if you're looking for a spooky mystery thriller, check out A Murder in Venice.
Did you figure out
Brian?
the mystery?
I had a hunch. So here's the great thing about it. There's not just one mystery to it. So I figured out one little thing, and then I'm like, all right. Oh, wait. Oh, nope. Yep. Nope. And I had an inkling, but no, I didn't solve it. I left that for the great detective.
Whenever I think of those films, I think about A Murder on the Orient Express. And if you know what happens in that film, then you're on the right track to what I'm thinking of when it comes to these final 3 episodes of Only Murders in the Building.
Oh, yeah, we can't. I don't know about you, but I can't wait to talk about that when that show wraps up. So, well, Brian, we've got a very exciting Random Rushmore, Brian.
The game where everything's made up and the points don't matter.
For all of you listening at home, Brian is smart, and I'd like to mess him up by coming at him with a Random Rushmore. Brian, at the day of recording this, Disney had a very unexpected visitor at Magic Kingdom. I'm going to ask you for your 4 favorite on-screen bears.
Cocaine Bear.
Have you actually seen that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. On-screen bears. I just know Cocaine
Yep.
Bear I wanted to include. You got to go with Winnie the Pooh, right? I think he's on there.
Yeah.
On-screen bears. This is a hard one.
Okay. I'm going to go Po from Kung Fu Panda.
Panda bears aren't actually bears, though, right? Isn't that a thing? No, it's a koala that's not a bear. Never mind, Panda, you're good.
Okay. Winnie the Pooh, I'm going to take that one from you. That's 2. I'm going to go Yogi Bear. 3.
Hey, boo-boo.
Oh, man. Do I want to go with the Coke Bear?
The Coca-Cola polar bear?
Oh, no. Paddington. That's my number 4. I thought about Ted, but I'm going to go Paddington. Is anybody going to say Baloo?
I'm good with that. Yeah, I'm getting to Baloo, but I'm trying to decide of which Baloo I'm trying to do. I think I'm going to do Tailspin Baloo.
Yes, my hero.
Spin it! Okay, I'm restarting my entire list. Cocaine Bear, you get an honorable mention, but you're not going to be included. Baloo from Tailspin. Fozzie Bear.
Ooh. Oh my god, how did I forget Fozzie Bear? I need to replace someone. Yogi, I'm sorry. I'm replacing Yogi with Fozzie Bear.
So Baloo from Tailspin, Fozzie. Ted,
Okay.
and Dick Buttkiss.
Oh my god. You know what? I will allow it because that's great thinking out of the box. So I will allow that for the Bears fans out there.
And the bear from Revenant. He won Leo a Academy Award.
I'm not going to get into that. Well, everyone at home, please let us know what your Bear Rushmore is.
Can I
See
be
if you
honest?
agree with-
When you asked about
Yeah.
on-screen bears, after Cocaine Bear, my mind went to the furry tractor from Anchorman. So but my real answer has to be Winnie the Pooh. If you want to hear more about Winnie the Pooh, listen to us on Diz Life Podcast this week, talking about animated films.
Great segue, Brian. Yeah, we joined Mark from Diz Life Podcasts. First part of ranking Disney animated features. And it was not easy. Not all. No. We're going to get a lot. We're going to get some hate mail. I don't think we're going to get too much hate mail, but we're going to get some hate mail.
Yeah, but that was only part 1 of 4, so more time for hate mail later.
How it worked was Mark did the hard part of setting up a bracket, and we picked what we thought were the best of the matchup. So the best movie in the matchup, not our favorite. We picked the best. So,
but we only talked about from the advent of Walt Disney Animation through the Renaissance. So like the newest film we talked about was like Oliver and Company or something. So we've still got 3 parts to go with 3 other eras from the Disney 100 collection.
Yep. So for all of you Cinderella fans out there in that area, check it out. But for all of you like Emperor's New Groove and Aladdin fans, we're getting to those. So just stay with us. But check it out on their channel. Highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. Also in this Disney corner. Actually, let's go to the Disney corner. I just like the music. All right, so yep, we talked about ranking Disney animated movies, but Brian, my ears were happy this weekend because the cast album for Rogers the Musical came out, and I've already listened to it multiple times. So, and then also I was just recently gifted, ironically, the same weekend, a Rogers the Musical shirt, and I wore it to Epcot yesterday, and I was asked about it quite a bit, so I felt very cool.
Was it an official, like, from Disneyland Rogers the Musical shirt?
Yes, it was the black one, which I was surprised they picked black for it, but black with the white lettering and the shield on it. Yep.
Nice. It's
Disneyland.
Yeah, check out the YouTube videos. At this point, the show is done, so.
Why you gotta say it like that? Yeah, it's done.
Because I'm a pessimistic person.
All right. Well, not on YouTube, but on Disney Plus is Werewolf by Night. The original version was, 95% in black and white. It was glorious old school horror fun. Check it out. But if you want to see a fresh version of it, on October 20th, we get Werewolf by Night in color. So
Technicolor.
that'll be... Oh yeah, Technicolor. I do appreciate it because Michael Giacchino, the director / composer of it, said they wanted to do kind of like bright colors like the Hammer horror movies. So as soon as he said that, I mean, I was already going to watch it, but now I'm locked in and ready.
This is what happens when there's a strike and you can't create new content is you release old versions of older content. However, they're releasing a different version of something that was in my top 5 of Phase 4. I absolutely love Werewolf by Night, so I'm excited about this.
I have already, I think, watched it twice. As soon as spooky season started, I thoroughly love Werewolf by Night. So please check it out if you haven't, or if you want to wait for it to come in color, you got that on October 20th. Disney, the day of this recording, also released a new kind of moving poster for Percy Jackson and the Olympians. I know Mark, fellow fan and friend of the show, is excited for it just as much as I am. These posters, they're getting good, so they got me going. I'm excited for that show.
Entertainment Weekly also released some still photos from the set, and they're getting the show ready.
Yeah, it's gonna be glorious. Speaking of spookiness, and it is the time for that, on October 13th, Goosebumps, we get a movie. It's on Disney Plus, and the preview is out with Justin Long. And I think this is gonna push, the kind of the spookiness of Disney a little bit. So I'm excited for it.
Is it only a movie?
Oh, is it a show?
No, it's a TV series. Yeah. It's a TV
Okay.
series. 10 total episodes, all dropping the first 5 episodes on October 13th. Episode 6 through 10 will then be released on a weekly basis.
Good Lord. So it's a long show. 10 episodes. All right. I'll take it. Justin Long was a surprise. I hadn't heard he was in it, and then he popped up in the preview. So that was a nice surprise there. So we also have Lego's Marvel's Avengers Code Red on October 27th on Disney Plus. It's got a cool poster. It's Legos, it's Marvel's. I enjoyed their other Lego adventures, but Brian, unless you know more than that, it was just a cute little teaser poster.
I know absolutely nothing more than that. That was not something that had ever been discussed. So, that's kind of how they do things, though. At Lego Productions, is it just kind of happens when it's ready. So,
All right, keep an eye out for that. It's not a game. It is going to be a Disney Plus movie, so check it out.
yeah, not a game, unfortunately. They do need to re-release, or they need to do like a full MCU, like Skywalker Saga level game. But we haven't had one since Lego Superheroes Part 2.
Yeah. Oh, I remember that one. That was a fun one. I played that. I love all the Lego games, honestly.
We've ignored it too long. Mark, we've learned that people at Disney and Marvel Studios, they listen to us.
Oh.
Because we are getting Loki on Thursday night at 8 o'clock, like we've been getting these Ahsoka shows Tuesday nights. We're going to get them on Thursday nights. It's what they should have announced it a long time ago. It seems like this is absolutely going to be the new release strategy for Disney Plus, and I am all here for it.
I know you're excited for it. Hey, season 2, the new previews all look great for Loki season 2. I definitely am a little more excited than I was for season 1. So bring it.
I'm just a big fan of this release strategy because I don't have to wake up at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning to consume something to be quote unquote first to the content. I don't care that much about being first to the content other than I want to consume it and I don't want to get it spoiled. So
that's just it. People are awful. If you're a spoiler person, we're just not friends. But I've noticed it's within hours, sometimes even less, when people spoil everything, ruining it for everybody.
I think people literally like the second it drops, skip to the last 5 minutes and watch that and write their articles and then go from there.
I think you're right. That's sad. But I mean, if you're going to spoil something, and if you're a spoiler and you do that and you get high ratings, high listens, high clicks, all right, but at least just put a spoiler warning on there. I think what's irking me is some sites put a poster up. There you go.
See, it's not that hard.
Yep. I think what irks me is I'll be scrolling through and some sites put up a picture or a poster from the episode that is a spoiler, and then a very hinting like they're in the gray area of is this a spoiler title on it. I'm like, yeah, you suck. So it stinks that we're like that, but gonna get off my old man rocker now.
Good morning. I'm Wilfred Brimley, and I'd like to talk to you for a few minutes about diabetes.
Well, that concludes this portion of the Disney Corner. Oh, wait, Brian, I got to give one more shout out for the Welcome to Wrexham. Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney. It's back on Hulu. So, big fan of that. Check it out.
I haven't started season 2 yet. I want to let a few build up and so I can watch them over or watch them all together. I mean, I tune into the live season, so I at least know what happens. So I won't spoil it, but it's sports.
Thank you.
So I think you already know.
I don't. I don't know how, but
way.
I've skated around spoiling it. And it's funny because I follow them.
That's insane.
Yeah, I don't know how I've gone around it. I think if I try to think hard on it, I probably have seen something, but I'm working hard to block it out. But check it out. I've already watched the first episode multiple times. I think I did a back and forth of Ahsoka, which, oh my God, that recent episode was cinematically beautiful. And I went back to Wrexham. So
Technically, when people are hearing this, it's the second to most recent episode because we have now had 6 episodes, only 2 to go.
you're right. Without spoiling it, I will say the Ahsoka episode I'm referring to is when Ahsoka went on a journey where she had to discover what she really wanted.
And she
Right?
wasn't only played by Rosario Dawson.
Yes, she was played by a Avenger Barbie girl. Yeah, does that work?
She's a Barbie girl.
Living in an Avenger world. She's made of the Force. Oh, God. All right. Well, that concludes that section of news and Disney Corner. We are going to be doing the hard thing of ranking all the way up to date with Barbie on the list of the 20 highest grossing films. Where did Bryan and I have it? Stay tuned. We're going to get freshened up, pull out our rankings. But after, of course, we hear from our sponsors.
Hey guys, Dislife Mark here, and I want to tell you all about the official travel partner here at Chip & Company. Let our good friend Sarah at Destination to Travel help you plan your next Disney vacation. Sarah specializes in planning dream vacations for your family. She's an authorized Disney vacation planner, and she can help with every step of your magical vacation. The best thing is that her services are 100% free. Want to travel beyond Disney? Sarah has you covered there too. Want to find out more? Fill out a trip request form over at the website at Chip & Co. or email her directly at sarahsolberg@d2travel.com. Start planning that dream vacation today. Email her at sarahsolberg@d2travel.com.
Welcome back, fellow fans, to United We Fan, the podcast. We are going to be ranking the top 20 highest grossing films of all time. For all those fans out there who are like, oh my God, are they doing inflation or non-inflation? We're not worrying about all that. So
Straight
fans of
cash, homie. Straight cash.
Straight cash, homie.
So for all of you Gone with the Wind fans out there, I do apologize. Yes, it's impressive what it did, but we're going just who grossed the most. So Bryan and I have 20 films in front of us. Some two came out this year. One even came out last year. Wow. So movies are making money, but Bryan and I are going to do the hard thing of ranking them from 20 all the way down to 1. And for all of you new listeners out there, I will warn you about me. I have a bad habit of rearranging my rankings as we're talking about it. It's just something about the word of Bryan that just sometimes changes my opinion. But Bryan, I'm going to try real hard not to change my order.
I'm pretty comfortable with my order, honestly. I don't think I'm going to need to change too much. There's only a few that I'm going back and forth on.
I think my top 10 is locked in. And I think I'm going to surprise you on a lot. And I hope everyone listening definitely comments and lets us know how much we've gotten wrong. And let us know where your favorites ended up. So, Bryan, are you ready to go?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different ways we can do this. Do you want to introduce the 20 films? Do you want me to just go 1 through 20 with their dollar evaluation? Or should we just, whenever the first time it gets mentioned, we can say where it is on the list and how much money? That's probably the faster and easier way to do it.
I think let's let our listeners know like our top 20 movies. Let's do the money amount when we get to it. Let's just let them know what we got on the board.
All right. So do you want to start at 20 then? Both of us?
Yeah, go ahead. This is what's actually in order gross from 20 to 1. This is not either of our orders. This is just the money order.
Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, Star Wars Episode 8 The Last Jedi, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, number 17, Black Panther, 16, Super Mario Brothers movie, 15, Avengers Age of Ultron, 14, Barbie, 13, Frozen 2. 12, Top Gun Maverick. 11, Furious 7. 10, Avengers. 9, The Lion King. 8, Jurassic World. 7, Spider-Man No Way Home. 6, Avengers Infinity War. 5, Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. 4, Titanic, after its many, many releases. 3, Avatar, The Way of Water. 2, Avengers Endgame. And number 1, Avatar.
And Brian, when you say The Lion King, you mean the updated animated remake?
The Jon Favreau 2017 live action, quote unquote. Yes.
All right. Brian, would you like to do the honors of going with your number 20 pick?
I would like you to start at 20 and put The Lion King at it.
Am I that predictable? Yes. The Lion King remake is my number 20. Just for lack of creativity. I've only watched it once, and that's the least on my list. Currently on IMDb, it is sitting at a 6.8. I thought for sure fans were going to be having it higher, so I think that's still a little high. I think it should be closer to 6, but yeah.
I don't think it claimed to have creativity. I think it claimed to have nostalgia, which is why it made $1.66 billion. I do not have it at 20. At 20, I have the worst film on this list, in my opinion, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, which is 20th on the revenue at $1.31 billion. I think Fallen Kingdom is horrendous. I think it's awful. You take dinosaurs and you spend the entire film within a mansion. It's terrible.
Yeah, I get what they were trying to do, but here's the sad part. That's not even the worst in the franchise for me.
Dominion wasn't good, but I still think Dominion's better than it.
Fallen Kingdom is my number 19, so we're not too far off as far as that. That's sitting at a 6.1 on IMDb. That kind of makes sense to me.
My number 19, I actually have Furious 7. I haven't seen it. I've seen every other film on this list, but I have not seen Furious 7, and I'm still comfortable putting it above Fallen Kingdom because I just dislike that film so much. Furious 7 at $1.52 billion, 11th on the revenue list.
We're close again. I have Furious 7 as my number 18. It's at a 7.1 on IMDb. That I think it was a people definitely went to go see it because it was Paul Walker's last film, I believe. So that's where the money came from. But a 7.1, I think after Fast 6, the movies just started to go downhill.
I'll take your word for it. I haven't seen one since Tokyo Drift. Our bottom 3 are all identical. I actually have The Lion King at 18.
Thank God.
The Lion King is, I mean, it's a fine movie, but if I want to watch The Lion King, I'm going to watch the animated version.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I thought of things and we're doing this all based on our favorites. So I did it on, hey, if like these two movies are on, which one am I going to watch? Which one have I rewatched more? So for you listeners, that's kind of how I'm going at it.
17.
For me, it's going to be Frozen 2 at 6.8. I didn't hate it. It's just rewatchability, meh, and I had to kind of refresh myself in it. It's sitting at a 6.8 on IMDb, which I thought it was going to be higher. So yeah, Frozen for me. Frozen 2. Sorry, Frozen 2.
I like Frozen 2. We won't talk about that for a little bit. I don't have it top 10, but I have it higher than you do for sure. At 17, I have Barbie, which is 14th on the list, $1.41 billion. Now that it is out digitally, I would expect that number to really slow down. It's not going to approach the top 10, but Barbie did more than Warner Brothers could have ever asked. I have it at 17. Yep. Just not a movie for me.
I know Warner Brothers is hoping to get it submitted for Best Original Screenplay. I think they're kind of also doing that because Oppenheimer is going to win Adapted Screenplay. But, yeah.
Can you describe the differences for those of us in the room that don't understand the difference between adapted screenplay and original screenplay?
Original screenplay means it's, original concept, original idea. It wasn't taken from another form, whether it be a song, poem, book,
So
video
basically,
game.
Oppenheimer's adapted because it's based on true events.
No, it's based on a novel. So if you ever watch the credits, it'll tell you in there, like, screenplay by, Christopher Nolan, adapted from the book so-and-so. So Barbie, they're trying to claim it's original, which this is a really tricky one because, it's definitely based on stuff that's out there, but it's, yeah, I think they're going to lose this battle. I think it's going to be ruled an adapted screenplay, but we'll see.
Interesting. 16.
That's sitting at a 7.2 on IMDb. I mean, granted, you have the very passionate people I thought were going to have it be an 8, and then you have the trolls out there who I'm sure lowered it. So, for me, next up is going to be The Last Jedi, currently at a 6.9 on IMDb, and I think that grade's a little higher. Brian, I see you shaking your head. The movie is getting better over time with me, but I think what's hurting this movie is just the overall story art for that trilogy not just working out and
Yeah, that
not
has nothing
flowing.
to do with that has nothing to do with The Last Jedi. That has everything to do with The Rise of Skywalker.
Anyways, I stand where I stand. 6.9. You should feel good about that.
So you had that was at 16. The Last Jedi, $1.33 billion, 19th on the revenue list. At 16, I have Avatar, The Way of Water.
Avatar, The Way of Water.
Nothing to say about this film. It was fine.
I think it was a great cinematic experience. I saw it in 3D in the high frame rate. I got a little motion sickness.
Yeah, after
but
3.5 hours, man, I would have such a headache. It is third on the revenue list at $2.32 billion. It did that very quietly.
it really did, and it did in the face of everyone who was like, no one cares about Avatar anymore. It's been too long delayed. So good on them. So next up for me is Super Mario Bros. Super Mario Brothers. I enjoyed it. Then I watched it again at home, and I'm like, all right, it's cute. It's cute. It's at 7.1 on IMDb. It's still circling with me whether or not it's going to end up in my top 10 for the year. But yeah.
$1.36 billion, 16th on the revenue list. I think people went a little too crazy with Mario. Like, I think the illumination animation is perfect for that style. But I don't think that it's the greatest thing illumination animation's ever even done. Still am not yet talking about Mario. However, at 15, I have Avatar, just one spot ahead of The Way of Water.
Whoa.
Fern Gully.
Things are going to get real fun later.
Live action Fern Gully. It's just not my thing. Avatar is not my thing.
I rewatched it in theaters when they re-released it before The Way of Water.
So
and
you're the reason Endgame's not number one anymore.
And I did. And I even enjoyed the extended cut of the first Avatar movie. So
it's just so long. So long.
That's what she said. All right. Next up for me, I was actually surprised where I have this Barbie. It's grown on me a little bit. So yeah, 7.2, like I said, on IMDb. I thought it'd be higher, but like I said, the trolls are out there.
Super Mario Brothers movie. That's what I have at 14. I already said what I had to say about it. You're at number 13.
For me, that's where I put The Way of Water. So it's at 7.6 on IMDb. I'm pretty good with that number. I think it's a beautiful movie. There's definitely some stuff with the kids that I could have cut out, but I think overall, just a very pretty movie. Definitely more original ish at times than the first one, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't dislike it as much as I thought I would, but again, I was emotionally in a place as a dad where I had just uprooted my family, moved them across the country, and felt kind of bad about it.
That's also what Jake Sully did.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Bryan,
That's what I'm saying.
you're Jake Sully.
That's why I was so... No, don't put that evil on me. Okay.
Would not take that.
At number 13, I have Frozen 2.
Oh, is that the dad in you talking that you enjoyed it that much?
Maybe. I mean, it's
Yeah.
possible, obviously. Like, I'm not constantly seeking out to watch Anna and Elsa on repeat all the time. But I think I liked the first Frozen film better, but not by much. I actually thought that this movie did everything that it wanted to do and was a compelling enough storyline, and obviously kept it open for a third one.
Yes, which is in the works whenever the striking stops.
So I have Frozen
Done.
2 at 13, $1.45 billion. It is 13th on the highest grossing films of all time.
For my number 12, this hurts a little bit because I actually thoroughly enjoy this movie. Avengers Age of Ultron, sitting at a 7.3. I think it gets too much hate from people, but I got it at number 12.
This is where we start to reach films that I genuinely care about. But I have Avengers Age of Ultron close to there, but I'm not there yet. At 12, I have Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2.
I would say listen to our Wizarding World episode that's in the UWF archives, but
Listen to the Harry Potter Wizarding World episode we do in the future when we redo it.
Yeah, that it was definitely a learning experience for us. So, but yeah,
I like this movie. I really do. I like the Harry Potter franchise. It's not my number one by any stretch. It's borderline top Mount Rushmore of franchises, but I thought that it did a good job wrapping up the franchise, but I don't care about that film as much as I do others within its own franchise.
fair enough. I think my next one at number 11, my number 11, 10, and 9 all like swapped places at different times.
I did not mention Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, $1.34 billion, 18th on the revenue list.
Yeah.
Would you like me to go at 11? Give you time to maybe switch it up
You
again.
go. I don't think I'm going to change it, but you go.
It's not going to take me much time. $1.4 billion, 15th on the revenue list, Avengers Age of Ultron. I think that movie actually has a lot of redeeming qualities with the MCU, especially as it comes to Wanda Maximoff. I think Ultron's a compelling villain. I would like to see him reappear in some form other than in What If. But it is the fourth of the 4 Avengers films, and it is 11th on my list.
I think the sad part is whenever I keep seeing memes where it's like, it's the last time we saw the Avengers together. I was just like, oh my God, that hurts.
I mean, that's not true, though.
Well, all of them.
Yeah, okay, fair. Because I guess Natasha doesn't make it to the end of Endgame.
She doesn't. My number 11 is Black Panther.
Ooh. Okay.
I know.
$1.35 billion, 17th on the revenue list, which is insane amount of money for a movie that came out in February.
It's at a 7.3. This hurt me. But man, this really hurts me that I have it so low.
But like I said, this is where we're getting to a point where it's movies we care about.
Yeah, and I will admit the second one hurt this one a little bit. I can't really explain how it hurt it, but the second one kind of hurt the first one for me a little bit.
I have no problem making the differentiation between the two, if for nothing else, the completely different lead actor.
Yeah, I may this one is going to be the one that I could see myself flip-flopping at some point, but yeah, that's my number 11.
At number 10, you will hear it after this commercial break.
Is Disney World home to you? Realtor Victor Naraki can help make it a reality. Realtor Victor Naraki specializes in making your Disney home dreams come true. Second homes, investment homes, retirement, relocation. With Victor's input, he will show you the home opportunities that you don't get to see as a tourist. Imagine being at the park in minutes, walking around the World Showcase for daily exercise, watching the fireworks in your own backyard, or having Disney Springs as your local mall. Have you ever heard of Windermere, Winter Garden, Horizon West, Dr. Phillips, Claremont, Lake Nona, or Disney's own Celebration and Golden Oak? Victor will introduce you to these communities, which are just minutes to the magic. Stop imagining a Disney life and start living your dream today. Call Victor at 407-340-9375. And don't forget to mention that you heard all about Victor here on the Chip and Company Podcast Network. Head over to celebratingflorida.com and start living your magical life today.
All right, welcome back. At number 10, I have 8th on the revenue list, $1.67 billion. The 4th in the franchise, Jurassic World. Chris Pratt's introduction to the Jurassic franchise. That movie did everything they wanted it to do, and I like that movie.
Yeah. I have it very close to you. Jurassic World sitting at 6.9 on IMDb. I think people are... This one I definitely separated from the 2 sequels after it. I was able to separate it real easily. I love it as a standalone movie. For me, at number 10, I have Top Gun Maverick, which is at 8.3 on IMDb, so I'm happy that one's doing so well.
8.3? Holy cow.
Yeah. It definitely surprises me that I have, like I mentioned, Black Panther below Jurassic World and Top Gun, but just those movies I really thoroughly enjoy. But yeah, Top Gun as my number 10.
And it sounds like Jurassic World at number 9?
Yes, Jurassic World is number 9 at 6.9, which, I think is a little low, but I really do enjoy that movie.
My number 9 is Black Panther, so not too terribly far off of yours.
Right.
But I had it in the top 10, but barely.
I think, honestly, if you asked me to rearrange my 8, 9, 10, and 11, depending on the day, I would end up rearranging them.
Sounds good. Number 8, I have Titanic. I was obsessed with Titanic when I was in like 3rd grade. Absolutely obsessed with it. I learned everything I could about the ship, everything I did, every book report. I had Disney Adventures magazines, that little half-size magazine that came with a bunch of stuff. I made all these collages for like my school hallway. Obsessed. And I like Titanic a lot. Ultimately, I just like Star Wars and Marvel and Top Gun better.
Understandable. For me, I have The Force Awakens. Sitting at 7.8 on IMDb.
5th on the revenue list, $2.07 billion. Titanic was 4th with $2.26 billion.
Yeah. I have Force Awakens at number 8.
I love The Force Awakens so much.
Yeah, it's really good. Definitely one that I can rewatch and enjoy every time.
I have a daughter named after Rey. Of course I love The Force Awakens. At number 7, upset maybe for some people, Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi.
See, this is where Brian and I are going to get into.
I adore this film. And much to the chagrin of many people, The World Between Worlds in Ahsoka did not reset the sequel trilogy like some believed it was going to do. So sorry about that. But I love The Last Jedi. I can understand people's complaints with the third of the film that is Rose and Finn and just basically waiting for fuel, but I'm fine with how all of that plays out. I'm fine with the Holdo maneuver. I'm fine with everything. I really like that film, and I really don't care for The Rise of Skywalker.
For me, and this might shock you, this is number 7, right? Yeah, yes. 7? Mm-hmm. 7. Avengers Endgame at 8.4. I thoroughly love the battle at the end and them going to get the stones, but there's just too much fan service still for me in it. I there's other stuff I enjoyed more. So yeah, number 7, Avengers Endgame.
It came in higher than I thought it would for you. I thought we would have already spoken about it. So it is number 2 on the revenue list, $2.8 billion. We won't talk about that film for a while. For me, number 6, I have the original Avengers, 1.52 billion, 10th on the revenue list. Everything about that film rested upon it. It was Disney's first actual official release of a Marvel Studios film. Joss Whedon, I mean, probably still was not a super great guy, but we didn't know it yet. But Joss Whedon did a good job. The tracking shot that we get, those 45 seconds, it's just everything that a superhero film had never been and that they're still trying to replicate.
Yeah, and it's sitting at an 8.0 on IMDb, which I think is a little low, but hey, it's Avengers. So next up for me is where I have Avatar. And like I said, it's a 7.9 on IMDb, so I definitely have it way higher than you. But I remember how great it was seeing it in IMAX, and even watching it at home, I enjoy it. The Papyrus titles are still great. The music by James Horner is brilliant and hits. I just love me a good sci-fi movie, so Avatar.
Avatar, the number 1 highest grossing film of all time, $2.92 billion. So it'll hit 3 when like the re-release happens before Avatar 5 or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, I expect it'll hit 3. I mean, it still has to do $80 billion or $80 million. So not exactly chump change.
No. But if Titanic can do it with re-releases, then Avatar can.
Fair. We are at the top 5.
Woo.
At 5, I have the 12th highest grossing film of all time, $1.5 billion in Top Gun Maverick. I've talked on this podcast since it started how much I love the original Top Gun. I talked up this sequel. The fact that it came out and everybody loved Top Gun as much as I did made me so happy.
It still has me on the edge of my seat every time I watch it. It's really good. I think Tom Cruise's performance in it is very underrated.
I love that movie. But I love Four More, so that's what we're going to talk about.
And I mean, Maverick has, more emotional scenes in it than the first one. That helps it too. The first one just didn't really pull at the heartstrings as much as the second one.
I disagree because I think that the second one doesn't pull at the heartstrings if the first one doesn't exist.
Bryan is well aware that I'm poking the bear because of Goose's death.
Correct.
So
your number 5.
My number 5, Harry Potter has a very special place for me. Actually, when I went to London, this was playing, so I was that typical American. So I saw Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. It's at an 8.1 on IMDb. I think that's kind of low. I think it was just one epic finale to that series. The music is top notch. There's definitely some changes from the books to the movies that are questionable. But I got Deathly Hallows Part 2 at my number 5.
Do you remember off the top of your head where it fits within the franchise for you?
It's my number 2.
It is. Okay. So it's still pretty high in the franchise for you. Okay.
Yep.
Behind Azkaban, right?
No.
What is your favorite one?
It's the first one, the Sorcerer's Stone.
Okay.
I just really enjoy it.
Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Okay.
Yes. Harry Otter.
All right. At number 4, an upset when I was doing this, but I'm comfortable with my top 3. Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, 5th overall, $2.07 billion. And I adore The Force Awakens. I've used that word a lot tonight, but I love that movie so much. But the other 3 ahead of it, I just had more emotional investment in, which is saying something because ultimately, but Force Awakens is 3rd on my list of the franchise. We just don't get to talk about the other 2.
I'm very surprised that I thought it was going to be in your like top 3 for sure.
It was close.
It was
It
close.
went back and forth with my number 3.
For me, my number 3 my number 4. Number 4 is going to be Avengers Infinity War, sitting at an 8.4 on IMDb. I think it is far superior to Endgame. It just has so much greatness in it, and to even have it at number 4, I'm like, that feels so low. I just love Infinity War.
Does feel low. You'll
Yeah.
see how low in a minute.
Ooh.
My number 3, number 7 on the all-time revenue list, $1.92 billion. Really wanted to get to do, but it didn't. And that was part of the COVID climate. That was part of everything else. Spider-Man, No Way Home. That is the one and only movie you and I have seen together.
I know.
Which is kind of a bummer, especially now that I don't live in Central Florida anymore. I love that movie. I love that movie.
We've seen movies in the same theater on the same night within an hour of each other.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But we
Yeah,
like
there's a
legit like sat together for this one.
Yeah. There's a cute photo of us on our Instagram. Follow us at United We Fan, the podcast on Instagram to see it. My number 3 is actually Spider-Man No Way Home, sitting at an 8.2 on IMDb, which I think is pretty good. Just a great theater experience. The extended cut actually had some changes that I kind of dug a little bit. But yeah, Spider-Man No Way Home.
I can think of one you haven't talked about, but I can't think of
There's
the other
2
one.
I haven't
I
talked
know.
about.
This is what I'm saying. What is going to be your number 1? All right.
Oh.
At number 2, I have Avengers Endgame. I love so much Avengers Endgame. You could easily talk me into it being my number 1 on this list. But at least as I stand today, the number 2 high-grossing film of all time is my number 2 at $2.8 billion. I love everything about this film. I love everything that is Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr.'s character. I love everything about that film, but it does have a few moments to breathe where my number 1 does not, which I will talk about in a minute. Your number 2.
My number 2 is going to be Titanic. It's Best Picture winner, 7.9 IMDb. Came out in 1997, and I think I've seen 2 re-releases in theaters. Every time they clean it up more and more, although unfortunately you see some of the bad CGI. But I think that movie has aged beautifully. If you would have asked little me in the late 90s, I would have been like, what? How dare you, older Mark? But I love Titanic. The score, the end scene still gives me chills. My heart will go on. Yes, it will. But yeah, Titanic, number 2, 7.9, I think is very low for this movie.
I just figured out what your number 1 is, and it's worthy. My number 1 film on this list is number 6 on the highest grossing films of all time, $2.05 billion. Avengers Infinity War for 2.5 hours is a nonstop roller coaster ride that never, ever lets up. And I don't care that it ends on a quote unquote cliffhanger, because it doesn't. The main character of the story is Thanos. The fact that they get me to care about a guy with a purple, a purple guy with a weird chin. Grimace. He wins, man. He wins that story. It's not a cliffhanger. It's the main character of that film wins. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean it isn't compelling. I think that movie is an absolute masterpiece.
I agree. Where that one, I'd be okay with an extended cut, and Endgame, I think you could trim 20 minutes of. Infinity War is a great movie. I don't understand why people people get stopped so much when it's somewhat cliffhanger, or I know a lot of people had that issue with Across the Spider-Verse. They were like, oh, I didn't know it was like a part 1. And that kind of like brought it down a little bit for me. Why? Like you said, Infinity War is a complete movie. It is just brilliant.
But I do see Across the Spider-Verse being what you would consider a cliffhanger that you'd have at the end of a television episode. I
It
genuinely
didn't stop people with Empire Strikes Back. They seem to like that one just fine.
Well, that's true, but again, that still has at least more of an like Infinity War has an ending. Like it truly does have an ending. The character that
They
has
didn't
the
have a
most
problem with Lord of the Rings.
well, the character that has the most screen time in Infinity War wins. Just because it's a
Yeah.
guy we don't like. Like he's so good. Thanos is I've said it many times on this podcast, including very recently. Thanos is Darth Vader for my kids. And like, man, like he's such a compelling villain. I go back and forth between Infinity War and Endgame all the time for what I prefer. It's what my mood is. But the longer it's been, the more I would prefer Infinity War, which is saying something because I love Endgame too. But I am comfortable calling Infinity War my number one on this list.
I just think when you have the beginning where Thor's gotten his butt kicked and Loki goes, "We have a Hulk," and then you see it does not go that way. And then when Thor is trying to get the star to create Stormbreaker, and you have the music and his hands reaching out, and then his arrival in Wakanda,
And the level of surprise they pull off when it comes to tying the entire universe together, like obviously Endgame does that even more by even going back to like the Dark World and all that kind of stuff. But the way they bring back Red Skull, for example, like you never thought that was even possible.
Yeah.
And just the way they pulled off the elements of surprise with Eitri and like, dude, I love that movie so much.
And it's also got, I think, some better humor moments in it, like where Wong and Doctor Strange are talking about how there's a Ben and Jerry flavor in Kahunka Hulk, and
notice you've copied my beard. Oh, by the way, this is a friend of mine, Tree.
I am Groot.
I am Steve Rogers.
I'm gonna get that arm. I mean, you know my number one by now. It's the original Marvel Studios Avengers. Call it nostalgia. Call it just seeing them all on screen for the first time. I love every minute of that movie. I just find myself watching it so much.
I mean, I can't disagree. I can't disagree. The original Avengers is I mean, I would consider each of my top 5 a darn near perfect film. So
yeah.
And I don't even have Avengers in that. No, I had that at 6. So top 6 films, I could call them near perfect. The Last Jedi, I will not say is perfect as much as I love it.
My list was honestly the hardest part for me was the 6 through 12.
Yeah.
That's where my list kept changing orders.
So to recap, I have Infinity War at 1, Endgame, No Way Home, Force Awakens, Maverick, Avengers, The Last Jedi, Titanic, Black Panther, Jurassic World, Harry Potter 8, Avengers Age of Ultron, Frozen 2, Super Mario Brothers, Avatar, Avatar The Way of Water, Barbie, The Lion King, Furious 7, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
And then for me, starting at number 1, I have Avengers. The first one, Titanic, Spider-Man, No Way Home, Infinity War, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, Avatar, the first one, and then I got Endgame, Force Awakens, Jurassic World, Top Gun, Maverick, Black Panther, Age of Ultron, Way of Water, Barbie, Mario Brothers, The Last Jedi, Frozen, Furious 7, Fallen Kingdom, and The Lion King.
Let us know your top 5. We'd love to hear your top 5. If you want to tell us your top 20, by all means, go ahead and tell us. Find us on Instagram at UnitedWeFan_podcast.
Yeah, and keep an eye out. I'm sure we will post some poll about this so that we can see whose team you're on. Team Bryan, you like most of his list, or Team Mark, you prefer most of my list. So keep an eye out for that. Vote. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram. Bryan, let our listeners know how they can stay up to date and follow us on all the fun things on social media.
Yeah, like I just said, Instagram at UnitedWeFan_podcast, Facebook at UnitedWeFan the podcast, or you can shoot us an email at UnitedWeFanPodcast@gmail.com.
Well, that concludes this episode of United We Fan the podcast. Thank you all for uniting with us wherever you listen to your podcast. Check us out on the Chip and Company Podcast Network. Till we unite again, fans, make sure you go to the movies, see these, because heartbreak feels good in a place like this.
Somehow, self-amputation feels good in a place like this.